Hello, my friends. This is Red and Blue, your channel on YouTube for all things PSG in English. Please subscribe. I'm so happy today. We are back. PSG is back. The international break is over. We've made it through. Finally, I can't believe I'm getting excited about Ligue 1 games. This is getting ridiculous. This is really how bad those international breaks are getting. So we survived the September one. Now we survived the October one. There will be one more in November, but yeah, we're making it through slowly but surely. And so today, since PSG is back, let's talk about our upcoming Ligue 1 game against Strasbourg tomorrow night, Friday night in Paris, in Parc des Princes. And you know, a pretty interesting clash, top of the table. We're obviously on top of the table right now, and Strasbourg is third. So it's not, it's not an interesting one. It's a team that's been producing some interesting stuff since the beginning of the season, even since last season as well. And obviously, they've got the backing of the whole Chelsea group, Blue Co around them. So there's a lot of talent on the pitch that we can expect to see tomorrow. And so it should be a pretty interesting one before we go back into the Champions League. I think for me, just wanted to highlight a few things as we go into it. And the first one is really going to be a youth versus youth battle because Strasbourg, they do have a very, very young team and they've kind of made it their specialty over the past couple of years to be this sort of talent farm, I guess, for Chelsea. So they do take a lot of young players on. It was Andre Santos was a big one last season. Now it's Kendry Paez this year. But yeah, they do have a very young team, a lot of 20 or so players. A lot of them with very high potential and a lot of talent. And so yeah, so it's gonna be relatively interesting to see the kind of squad that they put forward, but also how all of those young talents, I guess, how they play, how they adapt, what they show in Ligue 1, and what they show in such a big matchup against PSG. Because for them, I remember last year, people were saying that, but obviously for all of those young kids who are coming on loan into Strasbourg, hoping to make it back into the Premier League and into Chelsea, the game against Paris is really the number one opportunity they're going to have in the season to show what they can do at a high level. And so for them, it is really the one, not to miss. And yeah, the one where they really need to show their skills, show their talent. And there's a lot riding on it for them. And they're going to be missing their center forward, who's really their big star and who's already signed with Chelsea for next season. But we should see Julio Enciso, who was their big signing of the summer from Brighton. Mamadou Sarr, their defender, is also injured. But we're going to see Ismaël Doucouré, 22, Guela Doué, who's the brother of Ordoué, Désiré Doué, 22. Maybe Diego Moreira on the left with this Brazilian left midfielder / left winger. He kind of covers the whole side. It's a pretty interesting one. Valentin Barco in center midfield, Argentinian that they got from Brighton as well. Who's been I've been watching a few games and he's a really, really interesting player, kind of a lesser version of Vitinha, I would say, to some extent. Panicelli up front, who's been doing great the past few games, who's at the moment the top goal scorer. Is 23. Their goalkeeper, Penders, is 20 years old. So yeah, you see it. It's a very, very, very young squad, but with a lot of talent. And so it should be interesting. And I think on the PSG side, even if players are starting to come back, we still do have some injuries. So we should still see a lot of the TTs. And even at the basic, like our squad is pretty young as well. So it's really a youth versus youth kind of matchup, and I think it makes it very, very interesting to follow, even for people who like. I realize like people internationally, like there's not really that many who've got a big interest in Ligue 1. It's fair most of the time, but I think this game, like if you want to get ahead of on your knowledge of future stars of football, it's a really good one to watch and should be a really interesting one as well. Second point I wanted to mention, it's a tactical heavyweight fight because I've been watching a few Strasbourg game, and honestly, like their production throughout like the beginning of the season has been a bit uneven. It's like sometimes they do really good things, sometimes it's like actually not that great. But you've got to recognize a few things. The first one is that their coach, Rosenior, is really good at what he does. And last year, he took his very young squad to like coming very close to qualifying for the Champions League, which would have been amazing. And I think the squad is even stronger this year to some extent. And yeah, tactically, it's funny. Yeah, I watched a few games and like sometimes it's a little bit like vintage Luis Enrique. So trying to press very high, trying to control the game, to construct through the midfield. They've got this same sort of shape in defense of like a 4 or 5 in the back that moves into a 3 at the back with full backs going very, very high up and covering their wings, use of the half space in offense. So there's a lot of similar themes that you see in the way they play. And so it should be pretty interesting. And, if you look at last year, the games that we played against Strasbourg, the first one at home, we beat them 4-2. But, they did manage to score 2 goals against us in Parc des Princes, which is not nothing, and clearly didn't close the game either. And then they did actually beat us in Strasbourg. That was, towards the end of the season, we were already champions and we were focusing on other things. But still, like they beat us 2-1 in Strasbourg. And I remember that one, like they did like, produce a very, very decent game. And good enough to beat us and dominate that game. So I wonder if there's going to be a little bit of settling the score element for some of our PSG player. I hope like some of the players didn't like getting the loss last season, and might want to set the record straight. And I think in terms of how the tactics are going to work, it's going to be interesting because on one end, like Strasbourg is fresh off of a 5-0 win against Angers right before the break, which on paper sounds very, very impressive. But if you watch the game, it was only Angers who are like bottom of the table in Ligue 1, who have a very limited squad. And honestly, like Strasbourg played well, but it was really like not that impressive in the end. Just like, making the most of the difference in class that was there. And yeah, like scoring the goals, being pretty realistic up front. On the other end, the game before that, they played against Marseille in Strasbourg and actually lost against Marseille 2-1. That was when we were playing Auxerre. And that game, like in Strasbourg, Marseille had control of the balls. They dominated the possession. Strasbourg managed to get 1 goal ahead, like they scored first, but then like Marseille scored twice towards the end of the game. And I think in general, like what I saw is that, yeah, even if Strasbourg is tactically quite interesting in terms of how they shape up, they're like, obviously, like, I mean, I'm saying something obvious, but they're not at the same level as us. But like, it's very, very clear that you can relatively comfortably get out of their press, even when they really try to press high. You can find space in them, combine in the midfield, even if they try to put a lot of density in the center of the pitch. You can like find space on the sides, even if they have fullbacks who, like I said, who are pretty talented at what they do. And like they've got a keeper who's young and who can like sometimes, not make the right pass, not make the right move, and put his team into trouble. So all of this to say that it's gonna be a very interesting one, but at the same time, like yeah, it's an opponent that we should have way more than enough to beat, at least in my mind. So let's go into the starting 11s, and then I'll give you my prediction. So I'll start with Strasbourg. So goalkeeper Penders, and 3 in defense, Geladoué, Oxberg, and Doucouré. On the right, they're going to have Ouattara, who's quite good, who scored a lot of goals. Barco in the midfield, who's their like Vitinha equivalent, organizes the game, does a little bit of everything for them, with El Morabet next to him. On the left, either Chilwell or Moreira, who I was telling you about before. It's quite possible that they play Ben Chilwell for the experience and for like knowing and being a little bit more defensive, but it could go either way. And then 2 attacking midfielders in Godot and Enciso, and Panicelli up front, who's been banging a lot of goals recently. So a pretty strong starting 11. They are missing a few players on injury and stuff, but still, like it's a pretty strong team for them. And then for us, there's still a lot of doubts and question marks. So I waited until after Luis Enrique's press conference to get a sense of where all of our injured players are. And I think, the good news that Doué is back, the bad news that Dembele, Ruiz, and Joao Neves are not. So there's still a lot of gap. And at the same time, some of the players came back from international duty very, very late. So if you think of a Pacho, for example, he was playing with Ecuador on Wednesday night in the US. So he's not going to be playing in France on Friday night with PSG. It's just not possible. Kang-in Lee, he was playing on Tuesday night in Korea. So it's Beraldo was playing with Brazil in Japan also on Tuesday night. So those 2, it's a little bit more possible that they get some minutes, but probably wouldn't be starting in the game. So that leads to a slightly experimental 11, and like this is my like what I think. Obviously, like with Enrique, it's always possible to be surprised. But I think Chevalier in goal, Hakimi on the right, central defense of Zabarni and Hernandez, because I think neither Pacho nor Beraldo are going to be fit enough to start the game, and Nuno Mendes on the left. Then in midfield, Vitinha, Warren Zaire-Emery, and Ndjantou, who I think might get his second start. And in attack, Kvara, who's back from injury, Mayulu, and Doué. And I think the question marks are, in between Kvara and Barcola, which one is more fit, / which one is going to start the game, and which one is going to come on and substitute later on. And Doué, it's the same thing. Like, is he well enough to start and play 60 minutes? And then get substituted and maybe like Mbaye coming on? Or is Mbaye going to be starting and we see Doué at the 60th minute to finish the game and only play 30? So that's going to be like the question marks in terms of how the players can play. But I think like it's going to be good to see some starters coming back. Kvara, he played over the international break, so he should be good. Barcola, we'll see. It's still a little bit uncertain, so that's why I put Kvara up front, but anything is possible. Doué depends on how much he can actually play. Like, clearly, Luis Enrique and the staff have said they want to take no risk, so it's going to be under control, but yeah. And I think, apart from a very experimental central defense of Hernandez, Zabarni, the good news is that their attacker, Panicelli, is not the fastest attacker of all. So we can still control the game, play a relatively high line, and, not the fastest central defender, and still not run a huge risk of getting caught in our back. So that should be okay. And then in terms of prediction, just to close this off, like I said, I do think like we've got more than enough to win this game. We're at home. We're back from the international break. We've got players coming back. We've like hopefully sorted out a lot of fitness issues, and hopefully some players have had time to rest and recuperate a little bit. And interestingly, Strasbourg is a pretty prolific team. So on average, they score 2 goals per game on average this season, which is relatively impressive. For us, obviously, we also score, but we are also like not completely immune from making a mistake at the back and Chevalier doing something crazy or something like that. But overall, I'm going to go for 3-1 for PSG. I think, yeah, we've got potential to score goals, whether that's Gvara, who's going to want to mark his territory now that he's back, and he's had, like, you know, he picked up a couple of losses in the international break with Georgia, which must be really annoying because it basically means he's not going to qualify for the World Cup. So he might be like really hungry to turn in a performance. And then like Mayulu has been doing well, can score. Why not Ndjantou? You know, Ndjantou could score a goal as well. That'd be lovely. Like before all of the starters come back. But anyway, like this is what I've got for you guys. I think like, you know, it's gonna be a really interesting game. There's gonna be a lot of talented youth on the pitch. So definitely tune in and let's see, and then we'll switch gears and go into the Champions League against Bayer Leverkusen in the middle of next week. So for now, let me know in the comment what you think of this game. Are you excited? What kind of prediction do you give? Leave a comment on the video if you've made it this far. And, you know, as always, if you haven't, like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to get notified. And don't forget, ici c'est Paris!